I became an atheist without even realizing it.
Okay.
By the way, we're operating on the assumption that a God exists. We still haven't demonstrated that one exists.
And so wait, Neil. Wait. We let you talk. Now, don't interrupt. We have a choice, and we all have been given a choice, and He has made that choice very clear. You can choose not to believe in me.
And
That's
if you
fine.
don't, you go to hell.
Does their lack of faith and their faithfulness nullify and make ineffective and void of the faithfulness of God and His fidelity, which is His word? Mm-hmm. So it's all going back to faith at the end of the day. You're going to have faith in God.
But by the way, that's what I like about your show. It reminds me of. Have you ever heard of Unitarian churches? Yeah, Unitarian churches are churches that they welcome all religions, because Unitarians believe that all are welcome into the kingdom of heaven. This is, like I said, this is similar to what I was believing back when I was, between the ages of about 12, 13, and 17. About 17 and 25. Is that the through line, that there's some commonality amongst all these religions that seem to have continuing themes. And this, of course, brings up the issue of plagiarism. For example, the story of Moses is directly lifted from another religion. And these themes led me to believe that, at one point in my life, that there might be or was. In fact, I was convinced that there was a God, and it was a very dangerous place to go for me, but and for a lot of other people as well. But that's the reason I like your show, is because you're not Bible thumpers.
We're not judging.
You're not judging, exactly. You guys are basically, from what I could tell, here's the thing. A lot of people talk about how much they love Jesus and how Jesus is the Savior, the Sermon on the Mount, yada. God was vengeful in the old days, but then He brought out His kid, which was basically God sending Himself to sacrifice Himself to act as a loophole for rules that He created to save us from. Yeah, I know. Right? Okay.
I'm laughing at the way you say it.
Yeah. I like how you put that.
It's true, though. But so the thing is, though, it's where was I? Yeah, the idea.
Why you like us?
Yeah, the idea that you could focus on the good parts of Jesus, whereas I could reach into the Bible and
we know there's definitely
where He's telling slaves to obey their masters.
So that goes back to where you said in the beginning, where this word now was written by man.
And how are you going to be able to tell what was written by man and what was written by God?
It's going back to the faith once again.
And by the way, the other thing is, when I read the Bible, the one thing I thought is, I read the 10 Commandments and I thought to myself, so someone saying your name with a bad attitude is important to you, but thou shalt not own another human being as property didn't make the list?
Well,
that should have been on the top 10.
Okay, let me jump in.
For some reason, he put it there. You better not use my name.
Let me jump in since you brought it up. Let me jump in.
Let me moderate.
Yes, let me jump in. Now, that is a great point, because we see, even with this country that we live in, this world we live in right now, the United States is trying to do everything they can to erase slavery like it never even happened when it comes to African Americans and all the other.
Some politicians in some states are trying to.
And one is because people don't want to acknowledge truth.
And the crazy thing about that, me being from Chicago, Illinois, being right now in St. Louis, growing up in Illinois public school system, and coming over here to Missouri and meeting people and talking to them about their experience with the education system, there's a strong contrast. Basically, I've found that most people in this state who've gone to public schools, they have a very different version of history. And I found that the further south I go, the more washed it is. And I think that's largely due to the fact that Illinois was such a crucial state.
Yeah.
It was right there on the line. So, for example, the high school that I went to, I don't want to get off onto a different, but yes,
no.
they want to yes, there are people in this country who would like to forget about it. But getting back to your podcast and why it's important, what you guys are doing is you're focusing on the positive aspects of Jesus. You're focusing on the unconditional love. You're focusing on how you shouldn't be the one to judge. You are not God.
That's
you
right.
don't get to say CJ is going to hell because he's a homosexual. Which, by the way, when I was in high school, I ended up meeting face to face with Fred Phelps. I don't know if you know who he is.
I heard him.
And I ended up debating him. And when I was debating him, there was a point in time where there were Christians who were standing around us, young kids, because he was allowed to be on public property. He was protesting Planned Parenthood, of all things. There was Christians and people were wanting me to debate him, obviously, and there was Christians that kept on intervening in the debate. And when they would do this, it would usually be when Fred was pointing to parts of the Bible that basically said that homosexuals should be killed. And they would cut in and said, but Jesus, and Jesus this, and Jesus this. And he would go back and correct them with the Bible itself. And that's where I would step in and say, Fred, why should I believe anything in your book? And when I start him from square one, and he has to go from there. And he could not justify his position like most theists can't justify their position when they're holding a book in their hand that commands you to kill people. And, you know, it gets really difficult, I've noticed, for theists who are waving around a book, whether it be the Quran or the Bible or whatever it is, to demonstrate that what is in that Bible is true and that we should act on what is in there.
So would you agree with this? Because I wanted to say this point as well. We know we have an Old Testament, we have a New Testament, just like we have now. We see the Me Too movement was very big, and all these different movements that's happening.
Which would not.
Wait.
I just wanted to comment. Which wouldn't have been very good or very big back in the times the Bible was written. Could you imagine women walking around in the time of the Bible going, "I have rights. You can't treat me." They would be like, "You're property." Literally, you open the Bible. You are
And that's what
property.
I'm getting at. And
like,
that's exactly where I was
that's
going
why when I was a kid, I went,
and this is what I'm trying to say was, we know with it being the Old Testament and New Testament, and even in the world that we live in now, certain things that were allowed and accepted by choice by a lot of them as well, because they did have choice, and then in some instances, they didn't have choice because they were enslaved and they couldn't do anything. Things that were technically accepted back then, as we move further into the New Testament, you see it wasn't necessarily accepted. Just like in the common world now, things that were happening in the workplace, you could smoke, you could do coke, you could have sex, all these different things you could do. But now, as we move forward to this newer generation, things are not being accepted. Why? Because people are using their choices. No, I don't accept that. So,
but God is all-knowing. That means God knew slavery was wrong from the beginning.
I believe just the last episode that we did, let's have conversations about the other side of God, the wrath, the judgment.
Like,
you know,
instance,
the one that the God that is okay with being people being slaughtered. But it's interesting to me.
Leviticus 20:27, kill fortune tellers. Exodus 21:15, kill a son for hitting his dad. We have Leviticus 29, kill children for cursing their parents. We have Leviticus 20:10, kill adulterers. Bill Clinton and Donald Trump would be in a lot of trouble if we lived in a theocracy ruled by the. Could you imagine that? Like with Leviticus 21:9, kill fornicators. That would mean me. That they're probably digging my straight to hell I will be going. Kill false prophets. Killing false. Now that's an interesting one.
We've talked about false prophets.
We talked about that after we did.
If the Bible commands you to kill false prophets, who gets to decide who's a false prophet? Because if we look through history, there were cardinals and bishops and popes that were incredibly evil and put innocent people to death.
Yes.
They would have been the people in charge of deciding who is a false prophet and who is not. So the Bible has not only contradictions, it has But I'll let you guys. This is your show. You guys should ask me questions.
We tried to,
Look,
man.
yeah, but we gotta
That's why I'm backing off.
We gotta let us sneak in where we can.
But at the same time, the very reason why you like our show, that's why we wanted to let you go and say everything that you wanted to say, because we wanted this
And to
be,
get more understanding.
Exactly. We wanted this to be exactly what we said.
Thirst for knowledge.
A
We want to know.
judgment-free
Yes.
place. You know what I mean? You stated at the beginning, how can we bridge the gap? You didn't say it verbatim. I'm paraphrasing.
And it's a crazy.
But how can we
I'm an
bridge the gap
atheist,
if we don't
but
have
one
a
of my
conversation?
one of my heroes is Martin Luther King Jr.
It was a Christian.
I'm a non-believer. If Martin Luther King Jr. walked in here right now and started preaching to me, I'd sit there and go, yeah, no, none of that stuff, no. And then he'd start saying other stuff, and be like, yeah, exactly. Like just like for example, I don't know if you've ever heard of a man named Dr. Cornel West. I could sit down with him and my brother this and God this and that. Nope. And then he would start talking policy or morality and certain things, and Yep. We totally agree, and I would vote for him for president. See, that's.
But you just don't agree with his belief system.
When it comes to his spirituality.
That's what I mean.
But here's the funny thing. I do agree with his spirituality. I just don't believe that it's real. For example, like when he says, you know, he believes that under God's eyes, we are all brothers and sisters. We are all one, basically, and we need to treat each other in accordingly. Even though I don't believe in a God, and even though I don't believe. I believe that is a good way of sort of making, you know, a society, building a society based on love instead of, and you know, and that's where religion gets complicated, because once again you get into the Baptists and then you get into the Unitarians who have two very different versions of Christianity. One of these versions of Christianity wants to take away women's right to choose. They want to whitewash our history books. They want to do all kinds of terrible things. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have Christians who want inclusiveness. They want equality. They want a better world for everyone. They want tolerance. They want love. So it's, you know, and then of course
would you say the different things that you believe in, that you say some of those you believe in, that means that you have faith in some of those things then, right?
Well, there's two different definitions of the word faith. You can use the word faith in two different ways. Like, for example, I could say, I have faith that the sun will come up tomorrow. That is not the same as me saying, I have faith that a God exists. Like, I could say, I have faith, I had faith before I sat down on this chair that it was going to hold me up.
Did not mention that earlier.
You did.
That's because I've had...
You have the
there's a lot
legitimate
of
proof of it, right?
Yes, experience over and over again. But then when we're talking about faith in a spiritual sense, that's something that's very different, because what you're saying is you're having faith in something that you have no tangible evidence of actually existing, experimenting with it and stuff like that. And so, you know, it's like, do I have faith that humankind will find its way out of the Dark Ages? Because I still believe that we are technically sort of in our own little version. But I think we're basically unevolved humans with, we're dumb humans with smartphones, basically. We haven't really, we're getting there. We're, you know, it's like...
We're pressing towards the mark.
It's obvious to people who are sensible and logical, you know, and we know this. There are people in this country right now who believe that just because you are a different race, you are inferior to them.
That's very true.
This is some really simple stuff.
So that shows you we got some crazy people with crazy beliefs.
We have a lot of crazy people with a lot. Now, imagine who you just said that to.
Well, I mean,
No, I wasn't directed at
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you said we have a lot of crazy people with a lot of crazy beliefs. From my perspective, the belief in a magical being that's watching you, and he's all powerful, and he's going to judge you, and he really cares about who you have sex with. For some reason, this being that knows everything, is interdimensional, can do anything, he's really concerned with where you put your penis, or where you put your vagina, or what you...
Well, people put a lot of emphasis on it more than what he does.
Because it's a human thing.
Yes, and
This is a
you
human
said
thing.
it right there.
And if you really think about it,
man thing.
If you follow the logic of the theist, God made man and woman.
Yes.
That means God made homosexuals.
Hey, because then that even opens the door to where you can say people are born gay.
and we've talked about that as well.
Exactly.
We've
And
talked
what are you
about that
saying?
as
Are you
well.
saying God is wrong? Because when you say that homosexuality is a sin, and that homosexuality is wrong, then you're saying that God made a mistake and God is not perfect and that God...
So what would you have to say to people who really have the belief that they're born gay and then they live their life, because we've met them and we've had conversations with them and we plan on doing interviews with them that have lived their lives and have been gay, and then they made the choice to say, I no longer want to associate myself with this lifestyle, and the reason why is because God changed my cravings or my physical desires, and now I no longer want that life. What would you...
The whole perception change.
It's a very complicated answer.
Okay.
Because you have people that are like grifters, like Milo Yiannopoulos. I don't know if you know who he is.
I don't.
He is a pariah at this point in time. He's a right-wing extremist in most ways. He was canceled for endorsing sex with children. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He was on a lot of things. But now, he's no longer a homosexual.
Okay.
He is now a born-again Christian man. He's always been Catholic. That's the thing. He's always been a believer. But now he's allegedly turned his back on homosexuality. Now here's the reality. We know that there are a lot of religious leaders that claim to not be homosexuals.
And they are.
And they are.
Yes.
Most famously, the one guy, what was his name? He was smoking crack and having sex with male prostitutes constantly.
Who was that?
Google it. Google it, ladies and gentlemen. But yes, so there's that part, and then there are people who legitimately change.
People can change. Do you agree?
People can change, but here's the thing: there are people who cannot change. If you need to change, if something is detrimental to your health, if it's detrimental to the people around you, then yes, maybe you should change. But being a homosexual is not something that detrimentally affects the well-being of everyone around you. It's something that you would inflict on yourself because of someone else's lifestyle.
And other
so
people's
because
opinions.
you are gay, my son, I'm going to reject you. That's not your son. That's you. Your son is who he is. You can either accept him or reject him. And if you talk to people like yourselves, you would say Jesus teaches you to love your son, even though you might believe he's a sinner.
That's right.
And then there are Christians who believe, like, for example, Fred Phelps. Rewind the tape to me back when I was 15 years old, standing in front of my high school, who literally believed that these people should be executed, that they are sinning the most worst mortal sin, of all time. And by the way, they have a book to back it up, and they could point directly to the text. And that is part of the reason why I'm here, because I feel like there needs to be people like yourselves, and then there also needs to be people like me who are even, I feel like people like myself are almost like, the Thomas Paines, we're sort of like the last line of defense when the radicals, become to the point of theocracy and they're trying to take over the world. There's going to be people like me standing up going, no. We didn't agree with even the nice ones, and now we're dealing with you, which are the bad ones.
Well, hey, that's kind of like we're doing ourselves. That's why we have this show, because we're trying to bridge the gap. We're trying to bring understanding, the topics at the church, and
because people are leaving the church.
That's true.
Yes. See, that's why you guys, if you care at all about theism, the belief in God, your role is vital, because people are turning away from the old church because they're reading the Bible as I did when I was a kid. They're seeing the kind of hatred and exclusionary, and they're going, there has to be a better way.
And people have more sense today than what they
do.
did back in the past.
And it's not like you all have to go to this church that's built in stone, that's been there for 200 years. You could turn on a podcast. You could go hang out with these people, and you can network with them on social media, meet up at a restaurant, and have your own version of Christianity.
Or you can come on our show and we can have our own discussion like we
doing right now.
It's the Catholic Church and a lot of these other churches, they want to have a monopoly on faith. They want to have a monopoly on a lot of these things. The Catholics do this, a lot of different religions. That's why I knew about the Unitarian Church. That's what interested me, because they were the only church I could find that was like, everybody, come on in, it's all right. You're a Muslim, that's fine. You're a Christian, that's cool. You're an atheist, don't care. Everybody gets into heaven here as long as you're a good person. You want to tell us what you believe is true from your Bible? Hey, as long as you're not hurting anybody else and making everybody feel uncomfortable, like reading Exodus 21, then we're going to be fine. You know what I mean? Like,
Neil not gonna let Exodus
He ain't
21
gonna
go.
Exodus 12. So you
It
would
was a
agree.
moment. It was, when
So-
I was trying to imagine a 10-year-old kid sitting in his room with the idea in his mind that God is love, just love and all this stuff. And then and knowing my grandmother, was the person she was and accepted black people and the connection to slavery there, and then reading, I was like,
Yeah.
Grandma,
So
something's not right.
So clearly you understand and you agree with some of the things that where we come from our perspectives. That's why you sit
Oh
here
yeah,
today.
so that's the funny thing. We agree on so much. That's the thing. Like spirituality is only like one small part of humanity. We agree on way more than we disagree.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a young man who has no idea what relationships are about is going around having sex with every woman that he sees. He doesn't realize that sex
That's good, Neil.
is only. Yeah, you can tell. It's not 3 hours out of the day. It's about 15 minutes or something, right? And then the rest of it is, what do you want to eat? What do you want to do today? There's so much more to humans than just our spirituality or our religion. There's a lot more to us than that.
Yes.
That's why people like myself find myself, marching along people like Dr. Cornel West. He's a religious leader and he's being followed by an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because he believes in God, because I obviously don't. It's because the other things that he believes align with my values and my morality.
Exactly.
So that's why it's such a good idea. You have someone like me on. It's because that sheds a light on that reality.
Yes.
So that, for example, there was one time I was in a gas station in St. Louis and a man was standing behind me and for some reason he just asked me if I believed in God and if I loved God and all this stuff. I'm a very honest person. It's like a Tourette's. And I just told him, no, I don't believe in God. And the look on his face was like I slapped him in the head. It was just like,
What?
he was like almost aggressive, and I could see the anger rolling around. And I'm ready for this, and I'm, all right, he's mulling it over. And then I saw his eyes sort of glaze, and and he relaxed, and I was like, thank God. Not literally, but and by the way, a lot of theists like to point to that, and I like to say.
And since you said that, let me ask you quick because we got to roll up because I know we over our time.
Well,
so just how you just said, you thank God. So whenever you're in a situation where
Something is unbelievable.
something happens where
It's unbelievable. Like when I'm having sex, the reason I scream, oh God, is not because I
Neil.
believe in God. It's because it feels so good.
Well, you
So
answered
with
that
that
it's
being
not
said-
believable.
You answered my
I can't
question, right?
believe how good this feels.
So with that being said, we're gonna go on and wrap this up because see, we're not gonna go down that road with
because
you, Neil.
that's gonna go into a whole
That'll be a whole
area.
nother hour. We definitely, but you know what, Neil? We appreciate you taking the time. We truly do have to wrap up, but we probably just need to do a part 2. You know what I mean? Because you have a lot.
You
to
have a lot of
offer.
information, which
You
you
know what I
already
mean?
know.
I talk a lot.
And so
But you're talking about stuff that's actually worth
to
listening
the,
to.
to the show.
Exactly.
This is about religion. It is about a lot of things. I know you guys. That's why I like to watch the show.
Well, thank you.
You guys.
Thank you.
It's not like you're just preaching from a book. No, you guys talk about whatever you feel
Real
like.
life.
Yes, right, and and that's important. Because a lot of people. They need connection with
Yes.
others, especially with a pandemic where we're all just divided from each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
This has
Yes.
been, a saving grace for a lot of people who.
Yes.
Yeah, but.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you,
We
Neil.
appreciate
We
you for coming
appreciate
on.
you
I appreciate
coming
you guys.
on.
You guys are amazing.
And
I love you guys.
the people may say that they definitely want you back for another one. So if so, I hope you'll be open to come back again.
Of course.
We definitely would love to have you back.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, TJ.
And I hope you don't think we beat up on you or nothing.
No,
weren't
no,
trying
no.
to.
This is fun for me. Like, imagine, like I took debate class and all that stuff, and I was face to face with Fred Phelps.
Yeah.
When I was walking up to Fred Phelps with all the protesters, I had such a reputation in my high school that they were chanting me to confront him. So, you know, for me, this is...
Because they knew you was going to have something to
Yes,
say.
because they knew it, and yeah.
Of course.
So this to me is just fun because you guys are such good
Well, we
people.
had fun with you as well.
We did.
We talked about some very good hot topics. I know everyone gonna have some comments and something to say
This
about
gonna be a hot one.
because this was a lot that was put out there.
But, oh God, oh God.
Oh, hey, let me.
Deal.
It's true, you know. That's why we're here. If it didn't feel that good, none of us would be here right now.
Well,
You know what I mean?
amen and amen.
Amen. On that one.
So once again, we thank you all for watching this episode of Pew Babies. If you enjoyed this episode, like, subscribe, leave your comments. Neil want to know what you got to say because I promise you he got an answer to some of your questions.
Yeah, I promise you he does.
Yes. So until next time, please once again follow us on all social media handles, like, subscribe, and until then, we will see you next week. God bless.
Be safe.